everybody? Artistry and Finesse coming to you live on Wednesday night. Just under 8 minutes left in the Penguins game against the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. Penguins now losing 5-1. Finesse. Bad performance.
Yeah, really bad performance. And I think earlier this week, or maybe last week, you and me rightfully gave credit to Dan Bilesma for having a team that really is good every season, and you can't take the 100 points for granted thing like that. But what this team does do sometimes, as spectacularly as any other team in the league, is lay eggs.
Huge eggs.
Tonight is one of those eggs.
They squeeze out huge eggs. and I know you missed the first period, but I'm not exaggerating when I say I think that the Rangers maybe didn't touch the puck for the first 10 minutes of the game. Another thing that this Penguins team has become well known for is starting off a game in dominating fashion. But if you frustrate them early, if they can't score in that initial surge, they get very frustrated and they completely fall apart. This seems to happen time and again.
Right. There's nothing wrong with not scoring in the first 10 minutes when you're dominating the game. The problem is the next 10 minutes when you sulk and feel sorry for yourself that you didn't score. And the other team goes in the second period up 2-0. And then you realize that you're trotting out Jason Megna, Tanner Glass, and Craig Adams and trying to come back from a 2-0 deficit.
Right, and that's the thing that's important to remember. Even as the Penguins are able to dominate, stretches of these games, they're not a team, in their current state of health that can take anything for granted. You're basically looking at the top line of Crosby, Dupuis, and Kunitz, Malkin, and that's it up front.
Right, like we almost have a bottom 8, not a bottom 6.
Oh yeah, we do. We definitely do.
Because everyone's sort of jocking Olli Jokinen as if he's some spectacular player, but he really should be a bottom 6 forward on a good team.
No one's jocking Olli. We're jocking UC.
What did I say?
You said Olli.
I said Jokinen.
You did say Jokinen.
I said Olli Jokinen?
I'm giving you the Jokinen, but you said Olli.
Look, give me my Jokinen. You keep your Olli. All right? Yeah, it's bad. I mean, this team has a lot of real scrubs out there. A lot of scrubs.
Yeah, I mean, tonight really doesn't bother me for a couple of reasons. First of all, the scrub factor. You just hope it's not one of those seasons where you're telling yourself game after game, man, if we were only fully healthy. You just hope it's not one of those years. Because if we were fully healthy, this team would be, not just with having a comfortable cushion in the Metropolitan. They'd be absolutely just squashing everyone in the first quarter of the season and putting a lot of distance between themselves and all these other teams. But the other reason that it doesn't really bother me, let me just give you one other reason, and I want you to weigh in on this, Finesse. Everybody, yourself included, has been saying let the young defensemen play. They're going to have some bumps along the way, but you've got to put them in there, let them play, get them ready for the playoffs. All right, tonight, Bob Bertuzzo and Olli Mata were on the ice for 3 of these goals, and they've had a terrible game. Don't you just have to sort of accept this once in a while?
Yeah, you do. But I'm not comfortable with the injury excuse. I don't know that our injuries are that much worse than any other team's injuries.
No excuses here. But every once in a while, this is bound to happen.
Yeah, no, that's true. I just don't think it's there's just too many passengers. Too many passengers. And I was listening to Olczyk in the second period, and thankfully I have it on mute now, or maybe it was at the beginning of the third. But he's talking about how Crosby and Ovechkin, or not, I can't talk tonight. Crosby and Malkin were playing a lot of minutes on the power play.
Yeah.
And how that's he sort of said it in a way that's a bad thing.
Right.
But, I mean, who are you putting out there as a second power play unit,
You're putting out Brandon Sutter, Jason Megna, and Olli Jokinen's brother.
Are they related?
I think they're brothers. Am I wrong? I could be completely wrong about that.
I don't know. Someone's going to have to fact check that one for us.
Yeah, I just don't know the answer. Somebody tweet us about that.
Big storyline, I think, that's going to come out of this game that we've sort of touched on, but not completely gotten into it, is Malkin's sort of disappointing start to the season. And this game really, you hope it's rock bottom for him because he's not good tonight.
Yeah, something has happened to Malkin. I mean, just 2 years ago, he was a 50-goal scorer. He's such a confidence guy, you know? If he's not confident in his scoring, you know, he went through the same thing for a long time on penalty shots where he just could not score on a penalty shot, and it was all mental. He's very fragile, I feel like, when it comes to shooting the puck. And he's tentative, and it makes no sense. The guy's got a good shot. And granted, there are some games he's going to take 16 shots and not score. But he's got to shoot the puck.
Yeah, it's very troubling. And I don't think that the missing James Neal is a legitimate excuse for a guy who's getting paid $8.7 going up to $9.5 million next year. Because and he's sort of a victim of his own success. I mean, he won the Conn Smythe with Ruslan Fedotenko and Max Talbot on his wings.
Right.
So I don't want to hear that James Neal is going to fix everything for him because James Neal or not, he should be producing more than he's producing now. And I know he had an assist tonight on the power play. But you just need to see more like over the whole ice and not just in the offensive zone. I mean, he's just not been great defensively either. His attention to detail is terrible.
Yeah, I think he's a little fragile psychologically. You would not want to put him in a locker room with Richie Incognito.
No, I mean, maybe what the Pens need to do, though, you could argue, is bring in Richie Incognito to toughen Malkin up a little bit.
Bring in Richie Incognito just to do motivational speeches between periods. Yeah, bring him in with some orange slices, hand them out, yell at some guys.
And, like, maybe he sends out text messages like Mario used to. Inspirational texts. Richie Incognito. like maybe Malkin's mom needs to be smacked. I mean,
maybe Malkin's mom needs to come into the locker room and get some people in shape. You know,
somebody needs to do something because the performance tonight is unacceptable. I see the Pens are on a power play now. I want to mention this about the power play. I know we've talked about this before, but it's just so alarming when you watch it. Paul Martin. Do you think he's going to be the first power play quarterback to play at center ice?
I mean, look at him right now. There he is. He's right. He's as close to the blue line as you could conceivably be.
He literally straddles the blue line when he's playing.
I think he feels like he's a first baseman. He's got to have 1 foot on the back. He's got to have a foot on the blue line.
It's
or else
ridiculous.
The shot doesn't count.
Like, dude, move up. I mean, I know you want to be safe and prevent the shorthanded goal, but like, he has a pancake wrist shot anyway.
He's the least of our problems. He's like, real.
It's like his wrist shot is like throwing a frisbee, and he's standing like 80 feet away from the net.
Yeah, he's the least of our worries. All joking aside, Malkin has been terrible.
I'm not joking, for the record, about Paul Martin standing at the blue line. It's not a joke. It's not funny to me.
For the record, I understand. But Malkin has been bad. It's been completely buried in our consciousness because we've had such a strong start. But he hasn't been good. And he'll need to be better. I think he will be better. Look, I mean, James Neal, these guys have a symbiotic relationship. How bad was James Neal with Letestu and Kovalev? You know, they sort of need each other to click on all cylinders, evidently. And Neal should be back soon. So let's just hold off on worrying about Malkin.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him, but
you seem worried. You seem a little concerned.
I'm not worried. I'm frustrated with his performance to date. I think you'd be blinding yourself if you didn't sort of call him out for how he's done so far this season. It hasn't been great. And yeah, you know, to his credit, he's still close to a point a game, I think, and that's just because he's so talented. It's almost impossible for him not to get that many points. Yeah. But he just, you know, I just feel like I want a little bit more from him.
All right, so we've called him out. We're done with that. The overarching issue, I think, with the Penguins is they still have this mental fragility where, they can't. There's been a lot of talk lately about how it's great. They have a plan B now. They have the left wing lock that they can go to, if need be, if they're not scoring. But they also need a plan. They also need a plan B psychologically. If things aren't going well for them, they need to prepare themselves for that. When things don't go well, how do you act? It seems like they're still acting the wrong way. They get chippy. They don't think, they sort of forget about coming back in the game. They're looking for retribution for whatever slight occurs,
right?
As the other team. And that's just got to stop. I mean, it's just silliness.
Like Matt Zuccarello does something to Crosby, and like now everyone's focused on Matt Zuccarello. Like, who cares,
Matt Zuccarello is like 4'11".
Yeah, who gives a shit about him? Like, leave him
No
alone.
one cares.
Who cares? Yeah. That's just part of the game. I just feel like the Pens, they're too easy to take off their game. And that's on Bilesma, that's on Crosby. That's like that's the recipe. I mean, they're fighting now. Who's fighting now? Is that Bob? No, that's Tanner Glass fighting somebody.
Somebody's fighting?
Yeah,
I might be behind. I'm a little behind.
Yeah, Tanner Glass. It was a bad, stupid fight.
How good has Tanner Glass been?
Compared
He's been
to
really good.
Compared to what? Tanner Glass from last year?
Compared to any fourth line winger.
He's been okay. He's serviceable.
Listen, I'm calling this like I see it. He's been good.
Serviceable. I'll give you serviceable, and that's it.
So is Derek England, for that matter.
Yeah. I don't know, but like, you just don't, like, no other team is concerned when these guys are on the ice. We're the only people thinking that they're playing well. Fans of other teams are not like, wow, Tanner Glass is having a great game tonight.
Yeah. But before we move on from this game, I just want to say this about Fleury. He was not good. The first goal, he was really slow to react. It was a bad giveaway by Bortuzzo and Mata behind the net, but Fleury just didn't react. He was really deep in his net, just unimpressive. So this is sort of an off night for many people, including him, and that's all right. But it makes you wonder, if the Penguins had Lundqvist in net, it would be a whole new ballgame. I mean, they're on a different level, Lundqvist and Fleury, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's a bold statement. Yeah, but if we're not going to judge Fleury for his shutouts in a positive way, then I can't get on him too much for this. Like, we know that this happens to him, and it's part of the narrative with him.
I don't think you should be that dismissive of my statement, because in the regular season, I think Fleury has matched up very well against Lundqvist.
Yeah, I guess statistically you might be right, but nobody's going to take Fleury over Lundqvist. And I think Lundqvist is overrated, but it's not really that close of a comparison. I mean, Lundqvist doesn't he's not the reason his team loses very often. Mm-hmm. Fleury can be the reason that his team loses quite frequently.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
I just want to say one thing. So Tanner Glass got in a fight with like 50 seconds left, and then like if there was ever a call the dogs off moment, it's when Dan Bilesma sends Brandon Sutter out next, because like nothing emotional is going to happen when Sutter's on the ice.
Right, he'll just like paw at the other.
It's basically like sending Switzerland to the ice, saying like we're just neutral right now for the next 50 seconds, and it's okay. Everything's going to be okay.
One other player we need to touch on is Dustin Jeffrey. How bad was he tonight?
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if this was the last we ever see of Dustin Jeffrey. Especially
I don't know what happened. I believed him.
If Bo Bennett comes back next game, which I think is Saturday, then I think we might have seen the last of Dustin Jeffrey. He didn't back check very hard on that third goal. And I'm always a little hesitant to like just totally jump on a guy for not back checking, because you never know how long his shift was. Like if he was out there for a minute and 15 seconds, it's almost physically impossible to get back on somebody like that. But that was bad. The optics of that non-back check on Boyle's goal were terrible. Yeah, and and then he missed the wide open net after that, and like maybe his only shift after that. and he's done nothing for 2 years. He's just a body at this point. He's not very good.
Yeah, I agree. The Penguins are going to be fine, though. The Rangers aren't that good. Don't worry about tonight.
Well, I disagree with that. I think the Penguins are going to be fine, but I don't think the Rangers are not good. I think the Rangers are going to be probably they're the second seed in the Metro Division. I think.
I didn't say they're not good. I said they're not that good. They're not close to as good as we are, full strength. I'm telling you right now.
No, well, remember last year after they made those trades, they crushed us 6-1, like in the next game. They have stinkers too, just like everybody else, and so yeah, I'm not like thinking the Rangers are going to take over the league or anything, but I think the writing's on the wall that the Rangers and the Caps are going to get the 2 and 3 seed, the Metro Division.
I don't know. I like the Islanders over the Rangers.
No, I'm not sure. Nabokov stinks.
They're still a better team. You heard it here first. You went to an event tonight.
Yeah, I did. I went to the Washington Post. They were doing an event in D.C. There were a couple of people from the Post. Neil Greenberg was there, who we've had on the podcast. Lindsay Applebaum, sports editor at the Post. And then Jason Forsyth, I think, is his last name, who does like video stuff for the Post. And they had Steve Oleksy there, a defenseman on the Capitals. And I hate to say this.
If you say so.
I hate to say this. I really do. But he came across as a very likable guy, Steve Oleksy. And
well, I'm glad he has that going for him.
He's the first Capital who I'm not going to instinctively root against him. My friend Steve asked the question. He said, "Who's the toughest player you've played against?" And he said Crosby, which I thought was very endearing.
Am I supposed to know who this is?
Oleksy, he's the 27-year-old rookie, basically, for them. And he's just not his story's kind of interesting. He was in Idaho playing hockey for like 8 different times trying to get to the NHL. He's an American guy who speaks with a Canadian accent for some reason. He says organization. And it was just good. He was good. He was entertaining.
Does he have the most charisma of anyone on the Capitals? Were Lindsay and Neil like, we really need someone to headline this event? Let's get Steve Oleksy?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think he could sell more Geico policies than Nick Backstrom. We could say that much. Because I don't think anyone could sell less Geico insurance than Nick Backstrom.
You're talking about the charismatic Nick Backstrom.
Yeah, America's spokesman, Nicholas Backstrom. The awkward-looking 25-year-old Swede who nobody knows what his face actually looks like.
He really lights up a room, Nick Backstrom.
There was one awkward moment that I think you'll appreciate. So it was mostly questions of Oleksy throughout the thing, and he was very good. Like I said, he was more engaging than most NHL players. But at the end, someone asked Neil a question about George McPhee, and he gets into this thing about how McPhee's actually gets a bad rap, and he's done a good job. And then he says something like, so basically, like really where the Caps are short are with a 2C. He says 2C for second line center. For a 2C, and they need a legitimate 4D because they have Mike Green, John Carlson, and Carl Alsner. And he's sitting next to the guy who's playing 4D at the moment. And he's like, you need to get a legitimate 4D. And it was like the most awkward thing. I felt so uncomfortable for Oleksy. It was so awkward.
Well, what did he do? What was his expression when this was said?
Well, let's just say he handled adversity better than most Washington Capitals handled adversity.
He didn't get chippy?
No, he didn't get chippy and lose this speech 6-0. He just let it roll off his shoulders.
Poor Steve Oleksy, man.
Yeah,
I think we should trade for him immediately.
But and then the other thing I want to point out is sort of a general point I have about like the way hockey teams are run and the way they interact with the media. There was a lot of questions, obviously, about the brawl with the Flyers they had last week.
Yeah.
And like he was constantly getting waved off by the Caps PR guy from really getting into it, and they sort of have like a lid on any discussion about the Flyers fight.
Right.
And I'm thinking, like, why? Why won't you talk about this? Like, why? We're all adults. Let people speak. I don't understand why the message has to be controlled so tightly.
Yeah, it's like why the Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants can't come on our podcast. They're just not permitted to talk about the product
I felt
in a free flowing way.
And he's the guy who fought Le Cavalier. I think he's the one who gave Le Cavalier a concussion or whatever.
Oh, is that right? Oleski did that?
He was on the ice during all that stuff. And like,
oh, wow.
It was, I mean, he actually gave like a relatively honest, open answer, probably more than they wanted him to. But just the fact that they're like not letting anybody talk about it, it's just, I mean, and this is not unique to the Capitals. This is everybody. It's like, grow up, you know? Why do we have to baby every issue? Let them, if they like it, what happened, then let them talk about it. If they don't like it, let them talk about it. I don't understand why we have to control the message.
Why is the NHL ashamed of what happened? Do they not feel like it was the right decision to say, hey, there's no rule that allows us to penalize Ray Emery beyond the 5-minute major? If they're comfortable with how they handled it, then we should be able to talk about it.
Right, and let the teams that played in it talk about it. Let the players talk about it. They're the ones who are involved in it. They're the ones whose opinion matter more than most. I mean, I'm more curious about what he has to say than what some columnist has to say about it. You know, and he actually said that fighting, had the typical player mindset with fighting. He was like, fighting is a very important part of our game. Nobody wants to get rid of it.
Right.
So that was actually one of the more interesting parts of the thing, to just hear him say that, sort of without the filter of political correctness, you know? It was interesting.
All right. So you're telling me we're fans of Steve Oleski going forward?
Oleksi, I think.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of his, but I'm saying he wasn't totally obnoxious like I feel generally about the Capitals.
All right, well, that's something. We're making progress. So should we do a little Steelers talk in the time we have remaining?
We might as well. We're good. We got over 20 minutes left.
Well, you and I have talked a lot about the debacle from Sunday against the Patriots, and mostly we focused on comments that we've heard from the players in the wake of the game. Everybody's feeling pretty down about what happened, and there's introspection and self-analysis to varying degrees by the players. You know, people want to take accountability generally, some more than others. And I think what we've noticed, just generally from the Steelers over time, but really it's come into very clear focus this week, is that there's a real tendency by a lot of the guys to either take accountability, say, it's on me. This was on me. I made a mistake. I made an error in a given situation. Maybe I blew the whole game. Who knows? It's on me. Sometimes they'll say that. Another thing that Ben in particular will say is sort of a humble brag. He won't come out and say, I'm really tough. You'd have to do a lot to get me out of the game. He'll say something a little bit more low-key, but making sure you get the message. He'll say, you know me. I'm not coming out of there unless, somebody drags me off the field. You know me. And so we thought it might be a good idea tonight to play a little game and to ask, is it on me? Do you know me? Or both?
Right.
And so we pulled some quotes from the Pittsburgh papers the last couple of days, and we thought we'd go through it. It's various players taking various degrees of accountability, and we thought we'd ask the question, is this player saying it's on me? Is he saying, you know me, or both?
Let's do it. I'm ready. I feel like I have a good gauge of this stuff.
All right, so I'm gonna throw a couple out at you. Let's start with Ryan Clark. is one of my favorites because, I think by any objective measure, it's on him. It really is. So he had a number of comments.
Well, I think what you're saying, how you're setting this up, is that we know it's on him, but
we know.
But is it on me? That's the question.
But what is he saying? Is he saying it's on me, you know me, or both?
Or neither.
Or neither. So here's the first one. A lot of men, and this is a quote, a lot of men played a lot of good football on a lot of good defenses here, and this is not one of them. Is it on him? Do you know him? Both or neither?
Well, he's saying a lot of men, and he's not including himself yet as one of the men. So I'm going to say he's saying neither there.
I don't think he's saying either also. His next quote, he's talking about playing against the Patriots generally and how the Patriots receivers were able to draw multiple pass interference penalties in the game. And he said, and I quote, "You play the Patriots, stuff like that happens," end quote.
I think that's more of a them than anything, right?
What he's not doing is taking accountability. And he's also not saying you know me. He's saying you know them.
Right.
I think you're correct about that. All right, now it gets interesting. Quoting here from Warren Clark. "A lot of times we weren't set up right. I have to do a better job." I have to do a better job of getting guys in the right spot. That's on me.
Well, this is a classic right here because there's a lot to unpack in a quote like that, right? So someone who's an amateur at this might look at where he says that's on me, and they might say, okay, he's saying it's on me, right? But I think you got to go a little deeper here and saying, and you got to ask yourself, what is on him?
That's exactly right.
Okay, what is he actually saying here? So let's unpack it.
Right.
Now he says a lot of times we weren't set up right. Now who's setting them up? Now
exactly.
Like the coaches are setting them up. Is Troy setting them up? Is Jason setting them up? Is Lamar? Is Lawrence setting them up? Who's setting them up? Okay, right? And then he says I have to do a better job of getting the other guys in the right spot. So here's what he's saying. He's saying the other guys, it's on them. They're not in the right spot. But it's also on me because they're not in the right spot. So it's on all of us.
Okay, in that vein, his next quote is, "It's on us." These young guys don't get it yet. This is all they know. They think this is normal. Maybe it is in other places, but not here.
So
what is he saying?
So now this gets back to the whole locker room and no games thing. Now, here's what you have to ask yourself. Is he saying that the bad play is on us, meaning the veterans? Or is he saying that the young guys are playing like crap and it's on the veterans to get the young guys to stop playing so poorly? What is he saying?
I think it's a little misdirection. I think this is actually a you know me. He's saying the young guys don't get it. I do. Therefore, it's up to me to impress upon them what they need to do. What is normal in Pittsburgh Steeler land may not be normal the way you think of it. So you know me. I know what Steelers do. These kids don't. I need to tell them.
Do they know him, though?
Well, clearly they don't know him. Or if they know him, they don't know what he does. And he needs to tell them.
Well, he says...
In that sense, it's on him. But really the message is, you know me.
But he says this is all they know. So they know him. Isn't he saying there that they know him?
Well, they know what it looks like when he plays badly. But that's not him. You understand? In his view.
But do they know? But do they know that they're playing badly? That's what I'm curious about.
I'm not sure what they know, but Ryan Clark is saying, "You know me." That's the message here. That's what I want to get across to you.
I think we're like the Steelers are 2-6. I think we're maybe 3 or 4 more losses from after the game. Ryan Clark just getting up and reading from the Haggadah, like, who knows one? I know one. Who knows me? You know me.
All right, let's go to the next player. We got to go to Ben right now because he had a great quote today.
Oh, it's on Ben. It's always on Ben.
It might have been yesterday. I mean, this is such a great quote, okay? So is this on me or do you know me? Both or neither. Here's the quote from Ben. Quote, "There will be no quit!" Exclamation point. "You know you won't get any quit from me, but I will make sure no one else does. If anyone's ready to quit and chalk this season up, then they need to get off the train because I'm going to keep it moving." End quote.
Well, that's clearly a you know me.
What a quote.
Like a classic you know me. But here's the question. Were they on the train in the first place?
And like if they weren't on the train, isn't it on him?
He's saying they need to get off the train. But I'm questioning whether they were ever on the train. And if they were never on the train, then who's that on?
I say it's on the 08ers, quite honestly.
A lot of this is on the 08ers. If you look at a quote from Troy Polamalu, he just straight up says pretty much all of them were on me regarding the Patriots' big plays.
It's hard to read too much into that.
That's an it's on me.
That's just it's on me.
There's another great one that I want to share, and I'll give this one to you. "I'm not proud of myself," Matt McBriar said, the new punter. Now, it was terrible direction and aim, and it was a pretty pivotal moment of the game. So
I think interestingly.
Go ahead.
Interestingly, that's a you know me. Because what I know of Matt McBriar is pretty horrendous. I mean, this is his first game. So what we saw was a horrific performance. And to the extent we know him, that's what we know.
But what I'm left with from this quote where he says, "I'm not proud of myself," is
he's got low self-esteem.
When he has a good punting game, is he extra proud of himself? Like, does he just walk around the city with his chest puffed out when he punts well?
I don't think he's ever punted well.
Like, does he expect to get free dinner out on the town when he has a good punting game?
This is why I know him, because he's not a good punter. I think he has low self-esteem and he's a bad punter. Contrast that with rookie running back Le'Veon Bell. Let me throw this one back at you. Here's his quote. "I think I had a pretty decent game. I did mess up a couple of times."
Now that's hard. Is he saying anything is on him? I don't think he's saying anything is on him there.
I think he's saying, you know me, I'm a good player, even though everything went terribly wrong. You know me, I play well, even when I mess up a couple of times.
I think what he's saying here is, I did mess up a couple of times, but it doesn't matter because everyone else messed up way more than me and in a lot worse ways.
I don't think he's really endearing himself to the 08ers with that comment.
He might as well have just said, "I did mess up a couple of times, but did you see Ryan Clark?" Like, it's definitely on Ryan Clark.
I did mess up a couple of times, but really you think I'm the one that should be banned from playing ping pong in the locker room?
Right. Like, he should just show up on Tuesday after a loss like that with like 8 ping pong paddles and say, "Look, 08ers, I'm playing some ping pong today. I don't care what you say. We're playing some ping pong."
Speaking of 08ers, our friend Brett Key had a few things to say. One of the more colorful quotes I think that he had, quote, "disgusting," end quote. What do you take away from that?
you got to wonder whether that's saying it's on me, it's on them, or you know me, I don't like when we play disgusting.
You know my beard.
Yeah, well, Brett Kiesel's not one to forego an opportunity to pander. So I think what you're seeing from a guy like Brett Kiesel is sort of a race to the bottom. When the Steelers lose and have a bad game, it's sort of celebrated as a virtue whether or not you take all of the blame for the loss. So the 08ers in a win are, they want to take credit as much as everybody else. But what makes the 08ers is that in the loss, they want it to be all on them. And
they want the limelight no matter what.
Because that's leadership. That's what it is to be an 08er. To be an 08er is to take all of the blame for all of the losses.
Right. The worst thing that could possibly happen to the 08ers is if they were considered irrelevant. They need to be either wholly responsible for the win or wholly responsible for the loss. And that's where we've arrived at this game. Either it's on me or you know me. Either I'm completely responsible for the loss or you know me, I'm completely responsible for the win.
And that's why you see a guy like Le'Veon Bell in the quote you just read not really understanding whether, that he should be saying it's on me or you know me. And that takes us full circle to what Ryan Clark said, that these young guys, they don't get it yet. They don't understand that it's on them, but it's also on me.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's like, hey, I think I played pretty well. I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. Made a couple mistakes here and there, but I'm not the reason we lost. He doesn't get it at all.
Right. The sum of the it's on me is greater than the whole of the it's on me. It can be on everybody. And that's what the young guys need to understand. That when the Steelers go 2-7 and lose to Buffalo this week, it's on Ryan Clark. It's on Troy Polamalu, but it's also on Le'Veon Bell. And until Le'Veon Bell understands that it's on him,
right,
and he thinks it's only on Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu, the Steelers aren't going to win.
Until they're saying it's on me in perfect harmony, this is what we're going to be looking at for the foreseeable future.
They need to do the it's on me shuffle, like the Chicago Bears did the Super Bowl shuffle. Just get up, make a music video, it's on me.
I think we need to do an it's on me tree, as you suggested today.
Well, I wanna end this, and we got like 6 minutes left, so it's not a rush. But I want to end with the ultimate it's on me, which was Ben Roethlisberger last season. You remember the first game of the year, the Steelers were driving against the Broncos, and he threw a pick six.
Yeah.
And he said, I should have called timeout. The play clock was running down, and I hate to burn timeouts. But I should have because we were kind of all over the place. There's no one to blame but myself. I already told my teammates and coaches, it's my fault and it's on me. That loss is squarely on my shoulders.
He's mastered it, hasn't he?
Yeah, like that's what these young guys need to pick up on. That's why they aren't allowed to play ping pong. Because they need to be learning that it's on them. Take the blame. Learn how to take the blame. And they don't know how to do it.
I think this is a good moment to welcome our latest Spreaker follower. This just happened in real time. Dom Circoni. Welcome, Dom.
Oh, that's exciting. Right.
Thanks
on the
so much for being with
podcast.
us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's exciting when we do this live. I like doing a podcast live because then I don't have to post it afterwards. It's already posted.
Yeah, it's a big night for us. All right, let's wrap this up. I really thank everybody for joining us, and if you're still with us after that, it's on me, you know me game, then you're one of the good ones because that was probably something that went on a little bit too long, but I'll say that we enjoyed it.
If it did go on for too long, that's on us. No one to blame but ourselves.
You know us. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, GTOG.